Hello, my name is Nathan Fears, and this is my observation video reflection for my practicum portfolio. I observed U.S. history teacher and department head, Brandy David. Brandy is a veteran teacher with 11 years of experience. She teaches our gifted and talented pre-AP and our co-teach students. I observed her GT class. The class learned about slavery, the triangular trade, and mercantilism. Brandy starts all her classes with a quick warm-up of document-based questions. Next, she showed a video introducing the concept of slavery. Next, students briefly read a section on the triangular trade from the textbook. She then introduced the places involved in the triangular trade and handed out pictures of products traded along its routes. The places: Britain, West Africa, the West Indies, and the 13 colonies were physically taped on the walls and connected by yarn. She had students stand with their picture in their trade route. Next, she had students crowd into a rectangle created with tape. This showed students the Middle Passage and the severe conditions on a slave ship. She asked discussion questions throughout class about the activities. Finally, students reconstructed the triangular trade on a blank map. Mrs. David used many instructional strategies. I witnessed evidence of questioning strategies to activate prior knowledge. For example, Mrs. David asked, based on what you see around the room, what do you think we're going to be learning about today? Students had already briefly covered the triangular trade as a vocabulary word and were able to deduce it was the topic of the day. Mrs. David also used several visual, auditory, and kinetic strategies. She used a short video clip to introduce slavery. She also demonstrated the triangular trade and Middle Passage with student movement. Mrs. David used questioning strategies with an emphasis on relevance to the student. She asked the questions: what other examples in history can you think of where slavery is involved? Are people trafficked into slavery today? I especially liked the second question she asked. I felt like that was students struggle with relating what we're learning. The people they learn about have been dead for 100, 200, 300, 400, thousands of years, and it's hard to relate and to understand what they went through or to just to relate to any of the problems that we discuss. And as you know, processing skills, you must, in some situations you need to work through a problem. And if you don't care about the problem, it's hard to use processing skills. Using the question, are people trafficked today? The answer is yes, and she stirs kids' heartstrings, gets them active in a discussion about what is going on in our world today. When the class was trying to gather in the fictional slave ship, she asked, how many of you need to use the restroom? What if a woman is having a baby? She then explained there would be no bathroom for slaves, and a woman would just have to have the baby with no help on the ship. And so she relates how we are treated today, all our rights, and how good we have it, to what is going on with a slave back then during the time of the Middle Passage. Mrs. David used questioning strategies to build student inference skills. She asked, what concepts did we learn about where stuff is shipped to the mother country? Students established the relation between the triangular trade and mercantilism. She asked, why did the traders feed slaves? Students would process the relationship between the need to keep slaves and the need to have a profit. Mrs. David used percentages as a cross-curriculum bridge to understanding the Middle Passage. Students representing slaves on the Middle Passage were distributed to South America, the West Indies, and the 13 colonies based on actual percentages from history. Mrs. David incorporated differentiated instruction in her classroom. This lesson displayed strong understanding of students' need for visual and kinetic learning. The video clip on slavery, the triangular trade activity, and the Middle Passage activity were geared toward visual and kinetic learners. Mrs. David also addressed her auditory learners. Discussion-based questions were evident throughout her instructional time. Students were encouraged to ask and think on higher levels. Mrs. David's class showed strong evidence of a high level of student engagement. I observed every student attentively watching the video clip on slavery. I also observed every student reading along as a fellow classmate read aloud from the textbook. Mrs. David had strong engagement in her questioning. She fielded several responses over the question on other examples of slavery. One student asked, this is later on in the lesson, one student asked, he was talking about if he were in the middle colonies or the New England colonies, and could he just, his question was, couldn't I just buy slaves and set them free? She used this question to provoke thought on profit and motivation. She had complete engagement during students' creation of their own triangular trade maps. I thought everything went well during the period. I thought each activity was well thought out and served its purpose. As far as what went well, I thought there was very little I thought did not go good. At the beginning of class, she had to get on to them because they were a little wild and rowdy, but as far as behavior, once the instruction started, they were great. I thought they were engaged the whole time. As far as what I'd like to see change, I would like to see Mrs. David create more open-ended discussion. I sometimes notice her questions were seeking a quick answer. I would like to see her give more time for students to develop ideas to answer these questions. Following this line of thinking, I would also have students discuss their ideas with a partner. This would create collaborative ideas for a broader classroom discussion. I realized Mrs. David is a visual... one thing that surprised me, I realized Mrs. David is a visual learner and I am an auditory learner. Mrs. David's classroom almost looks like an elementary class. She has a variety of visual aids. For example, she has the 3 regions of the English colonies hanging from the ceiling. I give too much auditory information and need to be more mindful of this in my classroom. I will definitely be very mindful of this as a principal. I think it is important that, especially with middle school kids, we have them moving as much as possible, doing things with their hands, and seeing, not just hearing. Alright, how will this benefit me? How will I use this? I will use this observation as a stepping stone to provide quality feedback to my teachers. This observation will create a catalog of strategies I need to be on the lookout for as I observe my staff. Thank you for your time.